G'day there guys, the voice that lulls you to sleep here. It's your man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the A-hole. Now if you love today's episode, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy today's bloody good content. Thank you. Posted by user Jaya56. Titled, Am I the A-hole for refusing to put my boyfriend on the title of my house or make him a beneficiary? Background. My boyfriend of over 3 years has been living with me for 18 months. We are both in our 30s, happy, and talk about how this is it for us, relationship-wise. We are in it for the long haul. Only problem, he does not want to get married, and I really do. Marriage is important to me. We have had a lot of talks recently, and his vibe is somewhere between not ready and commitment as far as marriage is stupid, so why bother? After many long discussions, I realized that I loved him enough to stay and take marriage off the table, even though I want it. He says he doesn't know if he'll ever want to get married. Side note, we both do not want children. Now, the issue. I got paperwork from my insurance and was looking through it. I made a joke about how my parents are going to be really comfortable if I die, especially in an accident. They can mourn me in style because of my insurance policies and the added accidental death insurance I have. My boyfriend and I then got talking, and he mentioned how I should really change my beneficiary to him. I said no, absolutely not. I told him that I would never make anyone who isn't blood or legal family my beneficiary. I said I would add him in the future if one day he decided he wanted marriage with me, but as it stands now, my insurance will remain as is. I also told him that since I own the house that we live in myself, I bought it before we got together, that I would never add him to the title without marriage. Am I the a-hole? He's now mad and saying I'm an a-hole and holding marriage as a bargaining chip. We never have to get married, but I am not comfortable tying him to my finances without being married. For added info, I also have a lot of money tied up in my house. He does pay me to live here. My mortgage is almost $1,200, and he pays me $400 a month towards that. I also have a lot of money invested in my house. When I bought it, I used $42,000 that I saved for the down payment. That was all my money and is now equity in the house that he had no part of. I'm gonna say not the a-hole for this one. He's wanting his cake and wanting to eat it too also, which is very unfair on you in this relationship. It's perfectly reasonable for you only wanting blood relations and legal family to be beneficiaries of your estate, and I completely accept that. I feel like that's a normal expectation to have. It's also completely normal for him not to want to marry you. A lot of people don't do it, and a lot of people shouldn't have to do it if they don't want to. I'm just gonna say stand strong on this one. He's being a bit of a dick for continuing to push the issue, and failing to see where you're coming from on this one. If he really wants to be with you, he'll lay off the gas on this one because, I don't know, shouldn't we have some decency in relationships and not pressure our partners? Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. He wants to benefit from marriage, being a legal spouse, without actually getting married? Yeah, nah. Hard pass. And if something does happen and they break up, she could be screwed. OP is doing everything right. My mum spent years in real estate, and when my sister was getting serious with her first boyfriend, she told us both to never buy a house with a non-spouse or put a non-spouse on the house that we owned. She saw too many chaotic situations resulting from non-married couples buying a house together / adding something to the deed. It pretty much always ended with one of the people losing financially and the house being sold as quickly as possible, and usually for less than it was worth. Often, that was because one in the couple wanted the money fast and strong-armed the other into settling for less. Yep, anyone who claims that marriage is just a piece of paper is kidding themselves. At least in the USA they are. There's a reason the LGBTQ+ community is so big on having that right. It's because marriage comes with a ton of major benefits, and divorce is one of them. Yes, divorce costs money and can be quite bitter, but that's true of any breakup, and it only costs a ton if you're unable to compromise. There is a ton of legal precedents established on how to break up a married couple. There aren't any on how to break up people who are just dating, because if you're just dating, you're not a legal entity with shared rights. You are just roommates playing house as far as the government and law is concerned. If you're going to share a life with someone and make major financial commitments together, get married. It protects you both. Exactly. If marriage is just a piece of paper, so is a title deed to a property. Not the a-hole. I don't think you're just using this as a bargaining chip, but rather being cautious and smart. You guys have not been together long enough to tie your finances together. He may change his mind about marriage eventually, and you may change your mind and add him without it. Or you may not on both counts. But right now, it's absolutely too soon. And OP replies, and I do agree with this. It is too soon to even talk about tying our finances to each other. When I originally talked marriage, I was hoping for an engagement in the next year and a wedding in a few years. I wasn't even wanting something soon because I think we do need more time before that happens. So talking more about finances shouldn't be a pressing matter yet either. At the end of the day, love isn't always enough to sustain a relationship. You have to be able to communicate productively, share similar values, and be understanding to one another. You shouldn't have to drop something you really want because he doesn't. Why are his desires taking priority? Disagreements on big decisions like this can cause resentment from both parties, which love can't really mend. Also, the fact that he doesn't value commitment enough to get married seems like a red flag, especially because he still wants access to your finances. You've been together 3 years. If you are not on the same page for how committed you are, it's kind of time to crap or get off the pot. Not the a-hole, but why didn't you discuss this 3 years ago? I honestly didn't think about marriage ever. In past relationships and in my life, it wasn't something I was striving for like so many other women I know. It wasn't until we got together, moved in together, dealt with all the pandemic stuff, and being trapped with just each other for months and months, and still were crazy about each other, that I realized I actually wanted marriage with him. I think it may be worth having a discussion about what aspects of marriage he is against. Is he not a fan of throwing money away on a big wedding? Doesn't want a wedding really at all? Or is it really about what marriage represents? If he wants to do things like combine assets and change beneficiaries, it may be that his idea of what you mean when you say that you want to get married is different than what you want or you could compromise. While there are plenty of people that are truly against marriage in all forms, more often I encounter people that just think to be married, you have to do all these traditional things society dictates, and it's important to find out where he stands, as you logically wouldn't want aspects of a married couple without the legal protections, and he seems to not understand why that is. That is fair too. I actually don't want a big traditional wedding. I would love to elope or do something very small and intimate. The weird thing is that we have talked weddings before all of this. In the if we ever get married imaginary talk when others announce engagements and after a wedding we attended together. Talking about what we would want and not want, and he told me who his best man and groomsman would be. So his turning around and saying he doesn't see himself ever getting married hit me hard. We need more talk from both aspects, marriage and finances. Update. I listened to a lot of your feedback and talked to my boyfriend after my post. He seemed weird in our talk. He's been weird a lot lately, but I have been excusing it. He told me that he said to put him on as an insurance beneficiary partially as a joke, but then when I went off on my tangent, including offering up that he'll never go on my house title either, even though he never mentioned it, that he got offended and reacted poorly. He said he really did think I was going off about all that in retaliation for his no to marriage talks, so he was left with a bitter taste. Which I get. I can be more forceful than I realize, and I am naturally passive-aggressive. He said that I didn't have to put him on anything, but he needs me to understand that I am it for him. He wants to make his life with me. Things seem to be better after this. That weekend, he asked if I wanted to go on a hike. It was peak season for the leaves changing, and there is this waterfall he suggested we go to. We get to the waterfall, and he pulls an envelope out of his jacket with a tiny bow on it and says it's a present for me. I open it, and it's a receipt from a jewelry store. I was confused, but I see he had the date of purchase highlighted and circled with a heart. It was early August, before the talks we had where he said he never wanted to get married. I turn, and there he is with a ring. I said yes. He said he knew I would never believe that he had the ring before all this without the receipt, that his attitude and comments when I started asking about marriage was to fool me so I didn't get suspicious because this was the plan all along. He wanted an autumn proposal in a beautiful location since it's my favorite season. Money he has been saving after moving in with me, since I charge him a much smaller amount than he was previously paying, went to the ring. He saved money for over a year because he knew when he moved in with me that he was going to eventually ask me to marry him. So honestly, this is the best case scenario. We talked after, too. When we get married, we will add each other as beneficiaries on our insurance policies, and we decided there is no need to put him on my title even after we get married. I really appreciate everyone's comments on that last post. I read all of them, and most people were genuinely concerned and offered wonderful advice and support. Roti says, "We learned from Chandler that this is not how one covers an intent to propose. Anyway, congrats on actually communicating." Oh man, what a bumbling way to hide a proposal. This will make a great story down the line though, and I bet you two will laugh about it quite a bit. Glad it worked out. So many dudes do this, and I want to blanket statement, stop this. There is other ways to throw us off the scent. Hint that you want to wait until the next promotion or a season opposite of when you're planning on doing it, etc. But by doing the whole, I don't want to marry you and I'm unsure about marriage, tends to really F up our psyche, so you get to surprise us. Stop doing it and stop giving advice to do it, society. Thanks. Yep, this and pretending to forget birthdays and anniversaries. I don't get why you want the other person to feel crap for the entire run-up, just to be like, surprise, I actually do care after all, yay me. Posted by user Baked Goods, titled, "Am I the a-hole for having pot cookies out in the open in my own home?" This is an ongoing situation, and I'm currently writing this as my niece is having a full-on meltdown, so I apologize for any mistakes. Today was my day off, and I decided to whip up a batch of pot cookies that have weed extract in them, so I can snack on them for the weekend. After they finish baking, I left them out on a cooling tray so they can set. Just as I finished cleaning up the kitchen, I hear the doorbell and went to answer, and surprise, surprise, it's my sister with my 8-year-old niece and husband. It's been a while since I've last seen them, so it was a happy surprise. I let them in, and with the smell of cookies still in the air, my niece goes bolting towards the kitchen. I instantly go chasing her, and as I round the corner into the kitchen, niece had just grabbed a cookie and was about to eat it. Quick on my feet, I swooped in and grabbed the cookie out of her hands, saying that these were adult cookies, which caused my niece to start freaking out. My sister followed her in, and I explained to her that these cookies had pot in them and assured her that I was able to take the cookie away from niece before she ate any. She instantly blows up at me, saying I shouldn't have pot cookies out when there are kids in the house. I explained how I had just finished baking them, and they were setting, and the fact that I didn't expect any children to be around. I am a single man with no kids. She asked if I had anything that wasn't laced, and unfortunately I didn't. By this point, niece has locked herself in the bathroom and is crying. And my sister gave me a big ol' lecture about having drugs in reach of kids, while I stand on the premise of there wouldn't be an issue if I had even known that they were planning on dropping by today. She called me a huge irresponsible a-hole, and I responded, well, maybe if you just taught your daughter to not just grab crap, we wouldn't be in this mess. She left to try to get niece out of the bathroom, and I'm sat here typing this. Am I really the a-hole here? Like, I can understand not having drugs out in the open with kids around, and I never would if I had known there were going to be kids around. Also, before I get any flack, I'm in Canada and weed is legal here. There was no reasonable expectation for you to know that this family was coming around and you didn't know it was them when the door opened. I wouldn't say it's completely unexpected for a kid to bolt into the kitchen and see what's going on, but I guess, you couldn't control that at the time. You were probably busy greeting the two people at the door that came to see you and not paying any mind to the kid. There is nothing here that says that you were intentionally trying to give this kid drugs, and I guess that's on the parents if they know that you do weed, they know that you eat weed cookies, and then they let their child be in this situation. None of this is your fault, and I don't think you're the a-hole, so I'm gonna say not the a-hole. Sapient Tramp says, not the a-hole. It's polite to give people a heads up before you drop by. By 8 years old, you should know not to take things without asking, and locking herself in a bathroom over not getting a cookie is ridiculous behavior for an 8-year-old. As a parent, agreed. 2 to 4 years old maybe, they're still learning boundaries, self-control, expressing their emotions, etc. 8 years old is well past those developmental stages. Exactly, and the fact that the sister is defending niece is concerning. If I were that mother, I would be upset that she simply grabbed something without asking. Both mum and sister seem entitled. Very entitled. That mum isn't doing her child or herself any favors either. The days go slow, but the years fly as a parent. Respect, kindness, responsibility, empathy. All the positive traits that we want our kids to have. These are things we need to teach and, more importantly, to display ourselves. Our kids emulate what we do, not what we say. Not the a-hole. With all the mediums to connect with people, why would you ever pop over unannounced? What if you hadn't been home? What if you'd been in the middle of something? Would you then have to be talked down about having adult fun in your own house when you didn't expect anyone to come over? Man, she should be so lucky it was just pot cookies. Update. First, I would like to apologize for my non-responses. I got pretty high after my sister left and I completely forgot about the post. It's been a few months and I logged onto this account accidentally and noticed a few messages asking for an update about this. So, I thought I would oblige since the post blew up. Like, whoa! Thank you all for spreading, and a special thanks for the people who gave me awards. For a while after the post, my sister was on a tirade trying to get everyone to agree with her. But thankfully, most people were on my side. Even my staunchly Catholic parents said she should have just given me a warning before just dropping by, saying that she knew I was a pothead and it was rude of her. Which was surprising, since my parents are not okay with me being a pothead. I linked her to the original post, and about a few days later, she apologized and realized she was in the wrong and said she was sorry for freaking out, but still maintains marijuana shouldn't be in reach of kids, but has admitted that she should have given me a heads up. We had since mended our relationship, and she actually now texts me when she wants to visit, so that's a win. I had also apologized to my niece, promising kid treats to be kept at my house for any chance of her visiting again. And I have a bunch of normal cookies and whatnot just in my cupboard. Of course, not revealing why the cookies were adult cookies, even though she really wanted to know what made them adult cookies. Turned out she was freaking out because I yelled at her. It was actually the first time I raised my voice towards her, which makes sense why she freaked out so much. And we are back to having a friendly relationship too, which is nice. Sorry that it's not that exciting of an update, but just thought I'd post it. I'm laughing trying to imagine your niece trying to figure out what makes adult cookies adults. She only has 3 pieces of info to go on. 1. Some cookies are adult cookies. 2. Adults are not allowed to tell children what makes adult cookies adult cookies. And 3. Adults can have children cookies, but children cannot have adult cookies. The first time the niece hears the term adult movies or adult content in relation to setting parental controls online or on TV, her mind is going to be blown. She's going to think all these things heavily feature cookies, which is going to cause mayhem when she's old enough online to be asked accept all cookies on a web page. This is what people mean about marijuana being a gateway drug. This kid is on the slippery slope already thanks to OP. She'll either end up a baker or a programmer or scared of Sesame Street. I hope he knows what he's done. I'm sitting here with a much-needed laugh, thinking in your parents' minds, Jesus Christ, sister's name, you know he uses the devil's weed, why even bother being angry? I know that's probably not what was said, but that's what I'm imagining, based on the post. This will be a fun story to tell your niece when she's an adult. Also, how did the house not reek of pot? Edibles and extract generally don't smell too bad, especially with a smell like cookies or chocolate masking it. The only time it really smells is if you're making your own butter. The butter-making process smells, the cookie portion of the edibles do not. This brings back childhood memories of adult brownies. My parents were lucky that I was a good kid. Not only would I not touch adult brownies, but wherever there were brownies out, I would always ask if there were adult brownies before taking one. I lived in fear of what adult brownies would do to kids. I even went into histrionics once when I saw a cousin eating the adult brownies at a party. Now, asking Grandma if those were adult brownies created some confusion, because I don't know what made the two different, and neither did Grandma. In hindsight, based on one of my teacher's reactions when we had brownies in class, and I asked if they were adult brownies, I think she knew what was going on. Pretty sure she called Mum, because I remember Mum sitting me down and telling me I didn't have to ask if the brownies were kid or adult brownies if I was at school. The 70s. And can't forget adult fruit salad, adult watermelon, adult orange juice, and riding around in the back of the old Chevy Blazer in a beanbag chair because the guy that Dad bought it from had taken out the back seat. I really like that story. Obviously full not the a-hole. You're a good uncle to have treats ready for any more unexpected visits. The only reason I might call you the a-hole is because your original post feels like it was only a little while ago, so you've made me realize how my last few months are totally wasted. Bloody pandemic. Posted by user Taylor Swift's Left Nut. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my pregnant friend her son's name is the most ridiculous thing I've heard? I created an account just to post this, as I actually can't believe this happened, and I am actively losing brain cells while trying to recount this. But anyway, about 2 days ago, my 19 female friend, 21 female, who was about around 7 months pregnant, dad not in picture, we are all in college, told me that she has finally decided on a baby name. For context, this girl has been trying to decide a name for the past 7 months, and she is the type of person who will name their kids McKaylee or J. Dane. She has personally expressed liking to names of that sort to me in the past. Hence as to why I was very intrigued to hear what her final decision would be, as she is a very, let's say, eccentric and naive Midwestern girl. She told me that she has decided to name her son Black, B-L-A-C, as in the color, but without the K since she said her son is white. I stared at her and asked her to say his full name as her last name is Green. She did, and I was like, are you serious? She said the black-green is intentional. I kid you not. This girl is naming her child Black-Green. So I asked her why she would name her son after colors, and she said something along the lines of her liking the uniqueness of the name, no one's gonna have the same name as him, and that if she named him this, everyone would think his name is super cool and clever, and that she liked the sultry and mysteriousness of the color black, etc. I was dumbfounded and laughed out loud. Then I told her that it was the most ridiculous name I have ever heard. The name Black itself for a white kid might also be viewed weirdly, and that if she liked black so much, perhaps she could name her child something less bullying prone, like Midnight or something. I get the whole wanting to sound cool thing. I once knew a little girl called Stormlight, spelling vaguely changed for privacy, and that, I guess, is a cool name. She got angry at me and called me an a-hole for making her feel stupid and being a hater. I feel kinda bad now, like, did I go too far? Edit. Okay, I know the name Midnight isn't better, but it was a suggestion off the top of my head since I remembered Black Bears, the rapper, his son, being named Midnight. I just don't want the kid to get bullied. I'm gonna go with, not the a-hole for this one. I feel like you're allowed to tell her in this instance, and you don't come off as an a-hole for doing so. Maybe it's you just giving her another perspective, being like, I know you like wacky, weird, and wonderful names, but you can't just think that this kid isn't going to be bullied. Perhaps you had a normal name going through high school and going through your life, and you've got a biased perspective of what it's like for people with unusual names, and how kids do not care. Kids discriminate against names like that, and it will take a toll on that kid's mental health. Maybe let them choose their own name at 18, but if you want to put that on the kid, you are intentionally opening that kid up to bullying and all of the effects that come with it, and I would say the blame solely lies on you as the parent. So while I don't blame her for wanting a unique name, I think if it leads to the kid being bullied, she is in turn the a-hole for this one, and OP is not the a-hole. Edit 3. I will apologize to her today for the irrational way I reacted. I will also suggest some wonderfully creative names you guys suggested and present it to her. Will she change the name though? Stay tuned. Not the a-hole. The child will be set up for a world of bullying. I always advocate speaking the name out loud in different accents to see if it grates you. I discarded a lot of names that way. Not the a-hole, you could have been more subtle about your reaction, but honestly, that might have just been an involuntary response to such a ridiculous name. It was, which is why I may be the a-hole because I laughed out of shock, but to her, it may seem like I was making fun of her. You are well within your rights to make fun of her, possibly for the rest of her natural life, and you would still not be the a-hole. Everyone sucks here, because the way you told her was basically guaranteed to cause conflicts. In my opinion, you were justified in criticizing the name, but if you'd brought it up in a respectful way, you'd have actually had a chance of changing her mind. Honestly, it sounds like you really don't have much respect or affection for this friend. Maybe this is a chance to reevaluate whether you want to continue to be friends with her. Not the a-hole. Can you imagine having to introduce yourself with that name? Hi, I'm Black. I feel bad for this child. Hi, I'm Black. No, you're white. I'm Black-green. You're neither black nor green, you're white, buddy. Update. Hi Reddit. I'm back now that the mods finally let me post. Sorry about the format as I'm on mobile. I'm gonna keep this update brief and easy to read. So, I apologized to my friend and told her my initial reaction was out of shock, but that's still irrational and I am very sorry. She is no longer mad and understood. I suggested she consider the fact that naming her kid Black may make him more prone to brutal nicknames like Blackie, or the N-word as you guys suggested. I also said it might be weird for him when he introduces himself. She admitted that she hadn't thought about that. She is still set on naming her kid Black, but was considering putting an accent on it to pronounce it as Blake. As I suggested the name Blake, Blake itself would be too normal, she said. I also compiled a list of you guys' creative-ass names. So far, she really likes Forest with 2 R's, Slate, Hunter, Stone, Black, and Onyx. And I understand that it is 100% not my business, but I wanted her to think this through and not subject this poor child to a lifetime of bullying. She understood and is maybe considering Black as a middle name. However, like I said, she is still set on it at the moment. Thanks for keeping up with me and giving me advice. Edit. Forgot to mention that she was planning to name him Black while their last name is Green. And also, shout out to the people who suggested Collard and Gange. She didn't think it was funny, but I did. Black with an accent is somehow even stupider than Black. Makes me think of Bar Larkey and Jay Quellen from the Key and Peele sketch with the inner city sub. Don't forget Aaron, Denise. Oh, good lord. There is unique names, and then there's deliberate abuse. In some countries, this would actually be classified as child abuse. In other countries, the name would get rejected and she would have to choose a different one. $5 says that in 3 years, you'll be meeting Black's little sister, Ebony. Oh my god, I worked with a girl called Ebony. She was white as snow and she didn't even have brunette hair. My face when I was introduced to her, skull emoji. Not the a-hole. With all the other original names people are calling their kids these days, this one might not even stand out that much. You tried. It's hard to keep a straight face sometimes when the kids bring home the class lists so we can write Christmas cards. Poor kids. Alright, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. As always, I want to do a huge shout out to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. You should be up on the screen now. I love you all, and I think every single one of you are amazing for supporting the channel in the way that you do. Again, thank you so much for supporting me. And again, if you did enjoy today's video, please do tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. All of your hot takes, opinions, whatever you think, really, whatever's going on in your life right now, I'd love to hear down in the comments below. Before I leave, I'd also like to announce that I'm going to start doing meme content again on the second channel. I know it's been a while, so click on the Markee head on the screen without the Australian flag behind him if you want to go see some memes. And as always, guys, have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.